Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me on our weekly Q&A training call. Today we have, it looks like a pretty short class, so if you have specific types of topics that you'd like to address, I can actually unmute your microphone and we can kind of chat back and forth. Currently, Taffy, it's only you and I today, so if you'd like, let me unmute you real quick here. And Taffy, can you hear me?
Well, I can. How you doing?
Awesome. Good. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm pushing, trying to use Mortgage Coach, and
Okay.
I've encountered some issues, and Marcy just responded to an email that I sent,
Okay.
but the response was basically I was trying to do something that Mortgage Coach doesn't do, so I'm going to adjust.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get out there in the field and make calls and use Mortgage Coach.
Excellent.
So I'm struggling. Yeah.
What kind of presentation were you trying to put together? What did you run into?
Okay. Okay. So my position in this business is I've been in it not that long, and I don't have a backlog of realtors or previous clients. So I'm trying to start new relationships. And my what I can do, what I find works for me, is I go to open houses. And so I've been trying to use Mortgage Coach open house flyers. That was a strategy, to go to open houses with pre-done flyers. That hasn't worked so well right now, so I want to continue doing that. But I thought also in my market, I'm in the Denver market, and it's a very hot market, and it's very competitive for buyers. We have multiple offers, typical on new listings, several offers in the first couple of days of the listing. So I had an idea of using the counter offer analysis presentation as something that selling agents who don't have listings might be impressed by, where they could have a tool with my help that would enable their buyers to have confidence in making decisions about whether to proceed. If they make an offer and there happens to be a counteroffer, for them to be able to respond very efficiently. So that was a concept. Should I stop talking now?
Oh, no, I'm listening. So now, where did you run into the challenge?
The challenge was that in this great training, the Mortgage Coach training, there were all these examples that were up in the client area.
Mm-hmm.
And so so there's counteroffer analysis examples. And so what I tried to do was utilize that example to create a presentation for a new partner. And what I found, and that didn't work. And so Marcy, I just got this email back, so I haven't really looked at it. I haven't incorporated it. So, but basically, what I understand is you can't. Mortgage Coach won't allow you to convert one of those things into a presentation for want to be able to do is create a counteroffer analysis presentation for a new partner.
Okay. So
I think I'm going to just have to start from scratch on that.
Not quite, not quite. I'm going to show you a way you can do this. And this is obviously, the report I'm showing on the screen, this is just a fixed versus ARM comparison, but the concept is going to be exactly the same. So while counteroffer analysis, you'd have the initial offer, you'd have the counteroffer, and then you'd have the cost of waiting instead of accepting that counteroffer. So what you can do is you can actually go into each of these products, and while you can't convert the total cost analysis over to the co-branded presentation, what you can do is you can save each one of the products that you built as a product template and then bring those into a new partner presentation. And then from there, you can keep copying that one over and over to different partners, and you can send that out. So I'll show you how that's done. So what you would do is you would go into your counter offer analysis, go into your first product like I've done here, and all you're going to do is go to the very last screen of that product, and there's a button called Save as Template. And then what you're going to do is save this as a template. I might even call this C-O. This is counteroffer product 1, and then hit OK. And then I'm going to go to the end of my second product. I'm going to do the same thing. Oops, I went one screen too far. But I'm going to save the second product as a template as well. So this one I'll just call counter offer product 2, and then I'll go to the last product and save that one as a template as well. So this one's counter offer product 3. Now once I've got those saved, I don't have to redo the data entry for the products. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to a new partner. I'm going to put in my partner information, so I'll just call this person new partner. And this is going to be my realtor partner. The friendly name here is going to be my counter offer analysis. And then I would put information about the property in question. You know, if you're not dealing with the property, that's okay. You can certainly put TBD or something like that here. Matter of fact, we'll do that. Now, because you're doing it on the open house presentation, it is going to have areas for things like the asking price. So if you do have a specific property in mind, that's probably best, especially when you've got specific purchase prices here. So I'll put in.
Okay, may I interrupt? Do you mind?
Sure, sure.
Okay, so related to this was that the counter offer analysis I thought was based on the total cost analysis. So
Yes.
I'm vague about the differences between the total cost analysis and the open house, say, for example, the open house flyer. But what I thought was that this counteroffer analysis should be basically a total cost analysis format. So can you do you understand I have confusion going on here.
Okay, so you're absolutely right. The counteroffer analysis should be done as a total cost, but there's no co-branding on the total cost analysis. So what I would usually do is
okay.
So what I was showing you is a way to develop something that has co-branding and still has the products from your counteroffer analysis. It just won't have the long-term impact of that. But certainly when you're doing a counteroffer analysis, definitely the total cost is the way to go because that one is the one that has all the long-term calculations in it. Now you can't necessarily co-brand that with a realtor partner, but what you can do is during your video make sure to cross-sell the realtor partner. And you can also, in that, let me see if I have a counteroffer analysis in here. Oh, there we go. I do have one. So in this case, this isn't a total cost. I've got my partner's email here. That's really important because I want my partner to get notifications anytime this is viewed. And then I've got my counteroffer products, just like you would fill out on the other one. The main difference is, because we can't put the realtor's image and branding on here, we can put it in a couple of different places. So instead, something like this, where we have payment notes, these appear directly beneath the calculations. So we could put something in here that is talking about, listed in conjunction with Jane Realtor and then put contact information. And you can certainly get a little bit more verbose about it. You have quite a bit of room in this payment notes area. And then when you get to the very end of your counteroffer analysis and you're going to record your video, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one step there. Make sure to check this box to send the Edge View alert to the partner as well. That'll send it to the email address you entered here for the partner email.
Yeah.
And then when you do your video, just make sure that the beginning of the video is a cross-sell for the realtor partner. So yeah, this is a counteroffer analysis that I've put together in conjunction with Jane, Realtor. She's the best realtor in Irvine. Whatever you got to say there. But then go into a very brief synopsis of what the counteroffer analysis is. Talk about, look, you're going to have counteroffers because this is a very volatile market. But the trick to remember about this is that everybody's receiving counteroffers right now. So if you were to wait on this and not accept the counteroffer and try and go to a different property, you're going to run into the same thing. And if you keep allowing time to go by doing that, you could potentially fall into a pitfall with rates. So you're explaining what it's showing, but your co-branding in this case is really only going to take place during the video. It can take place in those payment notes that I showed you here, and that's just the first screen where you select the total cost analysis. And you can also actually include some more in-depth, kind of some additional areas. And actually, I'll show you right here. When we get into our monthly cost screen, the more info sections that appear behind these, we have text. So you could add additional text there if you wanted to put more info about, the partner or the relationship itself. Maybe it's even about the specific transaction if you wanted to do that. But what I was showing you in the very beginning was a way to just get the partner's branding on a piece that has the same products as you were using before. Whereas this one is showing the full counteroffer.
This is really, really, really good. One of the things, could you expand on this ability to add text to modify the sidebar text?
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk about that more? I didn't know I had that ability, and that's interesting.
Yeah. So let me show you where that shows up in the live report. Oops, I got a pop-up blocked. Oh, when that came into effect. That was interesting. I do this all day, every day. All right. So that text appears behind the more info sections here. So when I click on more info, you see how there's text to the right of this? That's the text that is in this screen right here. So for instance, if I wanted to put more clarity around this, I could put something like your original, oops, sorry, horrible typist today. Original offer of 240K was countered with a 260K price. See, something like rejecting that counter and pursuing another property could cost more, as you can see is illustrated in the weight columns. Something like that. And when you do that, as soon as you hit that right arrow, your analysis is going to update within a couple of seconds, and the more info section is going to show that huge blurb of text. So let's see, get that puppy to update. Matter of fact, I'm just going to refresh it real quick. But now if I go into the more info, you can see I've got all the additional information that I just typed in there. Yeah. So you've got lots of fields that are pretty open, and you can kind of do whatever you want with them. We don't really tie you to anything. I mean, especially when it comes to text fields, there's no checkpoints here that's going to say you can't write what you want to write. So feel free to use those. Those are always going to be advantageous.
Okay.
Now they also come into play in the lower left section. So this is savings over 60 months, and we've given an idea of what this is showing here. And I would certainly recommend keeping at least that part in there, because, and if you don't have this text, let me shoot it over to you real quick. I put that in the chat in our GoToMeeting bar. But this is just a basic explanation of what the short term is showing. But you could certainly add more color to this by going to the second screen of your presentation here and modifying this text. So instead of what's showing up right here, I could put a little bit more about your long-term payments would be substantially higher if you choose to wait for an additional property, and mortgage rates go up, something like that. And then I'll just refresh this real quick. You don't have to refresh it, I just don't want to wait for it. But now I can go into my more info section here, and oh, you know what? Mine are locked. That's why. Yours wouldn't be because you are on an individual account. My login is actually in a group account right now, so it's locking my note right there. But don't worry about that. It won't happen to you. Oh, there we go. I put it in the wrong section. Okay, there's my additional verbiage right there.
All right.
But you can see you've got 3 different areas that you can modify. You got the more info text for the long term, the mid term, and the short term. And those are all just in these 3 screens that are right here between the first presentation screen. You've got your first bit of text, you've got your short term, then you've got your long text. So those are just great additional places you can add some color around this.
Okay.
Now, if you did want to do a co-branded piece that actually has the Realtors branding on it, but it's not going to have this long-term impact on it, that's when you would use that method I was talking about in the beginning, where I really just saved all the products that I want, and then as I get into my partner, I'm just going to bring in those products. So if I go into product 1 here, add product from template, and then I find the one that says counteroffer, product 1. That's why I created it as a template. I don't have to do anything with this, except I do need a little bit higher purchase price there. But you can see it brought in the product exactly as I had saved it, so I don't have to redo the work there. And I would just add another product, bring in the second one that I saved, pop in my purchase price, and actually probably be a little higher because this, oh no, that's the counteroffer, so it would be the same one. And then add another product, bring in my third product. So this is just basically a method of transferring products between the client side and the partner side. So while you can never do co-branding on the client side, this is a workaround to get at least a co-branded presentation with the same products.
Okay.
And then what we get on the output, obviously not going to be as detailed as what the total cost does, but you can see that we are at least showing the payments against each other. Now this is obviously a totally different type of proposal that I use the products from, so don't pay attention to what they're actually showing. Just pay attention to what's being shown in terms of, you know, my rate is being shown for each one. I'm going to see my cash to close for each one. I'm going to see the closing costs for each one, and I can also see the payment streams. So, you know, ultimately, the real goal of the counteroffer analysis is to reveal to the client that the counteroffer is really not that bad when compared to the idea of waiting and potentially getting an even higher payment, because that's really what it boils down to, right? How much can you afford for cash flow? And when it comes to an open house buyer, all we're looking at is the payment. So you could potentially, in the property features section here, you can put 4 custom ones in there, where you can put additional notes about those products. You've also got a text area, which is right here. So this payment notes area, you can put a bunch of verbiage about the counteroffer and your relationship with the realtor partner. And when you do that, I'll go ahead and refresh real quick. Now I've got my additional verbiage right there. So that same thing as the payment notes back in the total cost, you have additional areas where you can put lots of text in. If I want to put those property features in to kind of reuse those, I can go back into features and just use the custom ones here. So original offer at $250K, and I'll include that. Counter at $260K, something like that. But you get the idea. I can do up to 4 of those, and then when I
yeah.
show them all my analysis, now I've got not only the verbiage I wrote for the payment notes, but I've also got those additional custom property features, which I've just used for my own purposes.
Sure.
But this would actually have the co-branding on it. So while I might even put something in right here in the payment notes to refer to the total cost analysis link that I created. If you'd like to see an in-depth look at the long-term ramifications of this proposal, navigate to, mcedge.tv / whatever the link is for your total cost. So you can kind of tie them together in that way.
I love it. Yes.
In fact, we can put it for the partner's info.
Hey, could I ask you?
No, go ahead, Daphne.
All right. No, different. Go ahead. Do what you're doing.
So what I was going to say is the website field for your realtor partner, you can input the link to your Edge presentation that's the total cost analysis, and it's clickable. So watch this. And that's just a random link I chose here. But I'm putting it in the partner branding so that if I can say somewhere in my payment notes here now, refer to the link beneath, Jane Realtor's information to see an in-depth review of this counteroffer analysis. And now they come down here, they click on that, and obviously if it's a valid page, it would take you there. I didn't get the right one apparently. But if you put a valid link in there, that should work for you.
Wow.
So that's another way to just kind of drive them over to it. You could even put it behind, no, your Start Now button is more of a global thing because you want that to be the same on all of your presentations. So yeah, probably the contact information is going to be your best bet here. And I'll play around with that a little bit when we're done with the call and just make sure that I'll give you some more detailed instructions on that because that shouldn't run into a problem. That is a valuable link. So I must have done something wrong with the data entry, but I'll figure that out for you. I'll shoot you a note on it. But yeah, that's a good variable for it. So 2 different ways to do it, just kind of depending on whether you want to see the actual partner images, then you're going to have to use an open house flyer. But if you wanted to see the in-depth analysis, use the total cost and then cross-sell the realtor partner in the notes sections, in the more info sections, and of course during the video. Now, Taffy, one thing, do you have a tablet?
Okay. I do.
You do have a tablet. Excellent. So when you're going to those open houses, are you actually dropping off a printed piece of collateral, or are you showing them the presentation on the tablet?
I've been taking printed, but then what I wanted to do is do a follow-up with them and let them know that they can see, they can see it through that link.
So I think what I might suggest, because the print copy.
I haven't.
Sorry about that. We were talking over each other for a second there. What I was going to say is that what I might suggest is instead of starting with print, start with the mobile version, because the mobile version of this presentation is really hot looking. I mean, it's been recently streamlined. It's nice and crisp. When we're talking about print jobs for the open house presentation, I mean, you've seen it. The print is not the flagship of our product here. So I mean, it's very basic. It's something that's a piece of collateral that they can use as a lead behind. But the real value in the presentation is when and let me cancel this out. The real value is going to be what the mobile app looks like. So I would start with that presentation on the iPad and show them how they can navigate through the different pricing options and so forth. And in fact, if you're going to stick around at the open house for a little while, I might even put the iPad up on a little stand and just when you record your video, you can choose to have the video repeat. I'll show you that real quick here. Get out of this screen. So when you go to record your video here, and this works especially well for open house presentations, you kick up the recorder, and there I am. Hi, everybody. And it looks like we got Bob Martin also join us. So Bob, if you have any questions right now, it's a very small group. It's just myself, Taffy, and you now. So if you do have questions that you'd like to have addressed, just raise your hand in the GoToMeeting. I'll go ahead and unmute you, and you can ask away. Right now, what we're discussing open house presentations, how to use them at open houses. You know, what's the advantage to using mobile versus the print, and what are some of the tips and tricks you can use to fine-tune your presentation and really make it your own. So one of the things that I was just explaining is that the print copy is not necessarily, our flagship product. The print is just a leave behind that you can give to the realtor partner. But the real magic of the presentation is on mobile and in the browser, because that's where you can include your video, that's where you get all your notifications when somebody views the presentation, and of course this one's shareable. So one of the things that I was recommending is as you go to open house presentations, or as you go to open houses, you can actually, if you have a tablet, and Taffy confirmed she did, we can actually bring that iPad or that Samsung tablet, whatever you got, and have an open house presentation open in the mobile app. And when you record your video, you have an option to repeat the video, that little box right there. So when you record it, you do a little 2-minute blurb for your video, and you check that box. When you go and bring this open on a tablet and you have it sitting there at the open house, your video is just going to keep cycling, which is awesome. You don't have to do anything with it. And now as people come up to it and they're hearing you talk and you're hearing the message, you're hearing the co-branding with the realtor partner, they can navigate that presentation on the tablet. And in fact, it's always a good idea to have a couple of sample presentations on your tablet so that you can show them, oh, this is the open house presentation that we were talking about, but for my clients, I also offer the total cost analysis. I offer a rent versus own, and you can show them what those presentations look like on your tablet. So you want to gear the conversation to go more towards mobile. Printed leave behinds, they're kind of a thing of the past. I mean, let's face it, if you're shopping for a house and you go out to 5 different places and you've got an open house flyer for each one of them, it's really not going to give you that good of an overview of what that property was. You can't really tie it in which one had the crack in the bathroom wall. Well, those kind of things are really what the most important things were. The leave behinds, not as important. The dynamic connection, to be able to contact the originator, to be able to contact the realtor partner, and to be able to see a little bit more, you should get a video asset going to actually hear about what the property is. It's a little bit more tangible. People can take it with them, they can share it, and that's critical too, especially when you're talking about your realtor partners. When you're walking in there to have that initial conversation with them, you're showing them the open house presentation on the mobile device. Make sure that they understand how to share it. On the mobile device, there's actually a share feature. Yeah, let me see if I can bring one up on my phone real quick. And bear with me for just a moment here. I'm going to show you what it looks like on an Android device. Okay, I'm connected. Let's see if it's going to show up. All right, there we go. This is kind of a cool little piece of technology where I can show you my phone and kind of give you a glimpse of what's going on here. All right, so let's find, I'm going to go ahead and just type in one of the ones I know works. This is a link that I created specific for these types of presentations. So I'm not going to view the video just now, but the key that I wanted to show you here, and I know it's a little pixelated, it's hard to see right now, but this share report, this is on the mobile device when you're using an open house presentation, when you're doing a total cost analysis. So when you're explaining this to your realtor partner and you're showing them, in this case, this is a rent versus own presentation, you're showing them the value proposition that you offer to your mutual clients. The easiest way to continue to get that information out and to, of course, collect more referrals out of it is to share the report. Now, they can click on your branding information to share it directly, but they can also click on Share Report. And when they do that, it's going to ask them, how do you want to complete this action? Do you want to do it Facebook? Do you want to text it? Do you want to email it? So when you're teaching your realtor partners about how to use this to show the value proposition, they can actually have this text, go directly to the borrower. They can share it to the borrower's email. They can post it on their Facebook page if they really want to. But all good stuff, and this is the dynamic version of the presentation. So the one great part about this is that as rates change, you go back in and change something inside this presentation, it automatically changes on what they're seeing on their mobile device. So you don't have to go in and send them a new link. And what I'm hearing from a lot of people is that they're actually using this as kind of a rate sheet. So they'll prepare an open house presentation, or they'll prepare a total cost analysis showing just a couple of different purchase options. And they may call it, today's 30-year fixed rate, today's 15-year fixed rate, today's 5-1 ARM rate. And what they'll do is they'll go in and they'll update that singular presentation every single day with the rates that would be expected at, the expected norm, 725 go, the qualifying percentages on there. But they come in and update these every day, and then they send those links to their realtor partners. The realtor doesn't need to click on new links at that point. They've got that on their mobile device, and they can see at a glance, oh, well, what do rates look like today according to my originator? Well, let me click on his presentation and find out. Now they can see, oh, my 30-year fixed rates went up a little bit. Darn, I better talk to him. Let's find out what's going on in the market. So now it just opens up another area of conversation that you can share with your realtor partner, and it gives them an avenue of information that they wouldn't have otherwise had. They're going to be looking to Bloomberg to find a rate. So we don't want them doing that. We want them looking at what we can actually offer their clients. So it's just a great way to keep people updated. But with that, Bob, I know there's no questions from you yet. If you are there and you'd like to ask any questions, or if you'd like to see a specific type of scenario, just raise your hand in the GoToMeeting chat. Just click the little hand icon in the GoToMeeting toolbar, and I can unmute you, and we can see if there's anything you'd like to cover. But other than that, I won't put you on the spot. I'm not going to unmute you. Okay, thanks, Bob. He says I'm good. All right, excellent. So I guess with that, let's work into another strategy here. So this is probably the easiest strategy to put together in Mortgage Coach. And it's one of the most effective, and it's a great marketing piece. Now, you may have seen this before in a couple of our other trainings, but it's called the Skip the Bagel presentation. Now, the Skip the Bagel presentation is all about just showing people what would happen if they chose a different type of reinvestment than coffee or bagels every month. What happens to that additional money if they were to either put it back in their mortgage or put it back into a new investment vehicle? So I'm going to build on the Skip the Bagel. Skip the Bagel is usually just showing a principal reduction payment every month. I'm going to show you a secondary option. So I'll make it a marketing presentation, and I'm going to call it Skip the Bagel. I might even go a little further. Skip the Bagel and save. And then I want to indicate, where am I going to be posting this? Is this going in an email blast to people? Is this going on Facebook? Is this going on LinkedIn? So let's say I put this on LinkedIn. And this is going to be a purchase. I'll put in my general purchase price here. Let's go with a $300,000 house. And I don't necessarily need to put anything in the affordability section, especially on marketing presentation. However, there may be cases where you want to show things like assume a certain savings balance and what can you do to make that greater by reinvesting in it. That's up to you. I'm going to leave it blank for now because I'm going to show you a different way to do it when we get to our reinvestment grid. So now all I'm going to do is, we'll call this one a 30 fixed purchase. And actually, Skip the Bagel is oftentimes done with refinance transactions as well, where you're showing them, here's what your current mortgage looks like, here's what you could do to pay it down faster. In this case, I'm going to do just brand new mortgages. So, you're thinking about buying a house, here's a 30-year fixed option, we'll go with 10% down. And then I'm going to apply my fee template. I'll make sure and earmark my reserves. Pop in my taxes and insurance here. And then my mortgage insurance. Okay, so I've got one product in here. This is just a very generic 30-year fixed purchase with mortgage insurance. Now I'm going to add an additional product. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to call this one Reinvest Principal. I'm going to use my copy button, and I'm going to copy that 30 fixed purchase. I don't need to make any changes to this. I'm going to make all my changes when I get to the analysis screen. Now I'm going to add one more product, and this is going to be an alternative. So instead of reinvesting principal, I'm going to reinvest assets. I will copy from, once again, Now my loan products, they're all exactly the same. So where this is going to come into play, where the difference happens, is what do I do with that extra $100 a month that I'm not spending on coffee and bagels anymore? So I'm going to go into my Adjust Reinvestment Strategy grid. Now this grid allows you 3 different options for investment. You can reinvest into principal up at the top here. You can invest into their current savings account. We're not going to use that today because I didn't put in a savings amount there. Or you can invest into a new investment vehicle. So this is a pretty good one for when you're co-branding with a financial planner or a CPA partner. You can show that, hey, if you reinvest that $100 from your coffee money into your principal every month, you're going to pay off your loan in 26.17 years. And that's actually going to result in a pretty substantial savings at the 15-year point. We'll show you that as we go further in. Now on the reinvest assets, I'm going to take that same $100 and I'm going to put it into a yield account that my financial planner is giving me. Maybe he can get me, I know that people use upwards of 3% here. I'm going to use something like 2%. So 2 different options on what you can do with that $100 every month instead of sinking it into Starbucks. Now watch what happens when we start expanding out our long-term areas. And I'm actually going to go back a step and forward just so I can trigger a save. Now the reinvest principal, the reason it's showing a savings here is, remember, the short-term area, this is comparing just the unrecoverable costs of each mortgage. So these are the interest, the mortgage insurance, and the closing costs. Now the 30 fixed purchase and the reinvest assets, they're exactly the same because there's no extra principal going into it, which means they're paying the same amount of interest, the same amount of mortgage insurance, and the same amount of closing costs. Now reinvesting into principal over that 10-year period of time, they've actually saved $4,900 in interest by doing that. So it's a pretty telling point. Now obviously this doesn't consider that we've got money in the bank here in this reinvest assets. This is just showing the mortgage costs. And we want to show what happens in the bank, we go to net worth. Now you can see here our asset account has obviously got a lot higher net worth, 777 versus the 728s. So if we wanted to make these equal, let's make them 10 years on both sides. So doing this reinvest principal would save me about $5,000 in interest. Over that same 10-year period of time, I'm looking at $201,950. And if I drill into this by going into my reinvestment grid, you can see at the 10-year point, that's actually $13,000 in cash. That's liquid asset that I've got. So my trade-off is, do you want to save $4,900 in interest, or would you rather make $13,000 on the asset? So both of them are very valuable strategies, and they're relative to the kind of goals that your client would have. Are you retiring in 10 years? If you're retiring in 10 years, would you prefer to have your loan closer to being paid off, or would you prefer to have a little bit of a nest egg and start a liquid asset here? Now retirement, generally you want to kind of lean towards the nest egg there. But if it's something like they know that there's going to be a change in their employment, they're going to be 5 years out, their company is projected to move them to another state, and they're going to need to relocate. They got to purchase a new home. Maybe they just need to be debt free at a certain period of time. Those are cases where you can actually, you would say the reinvest principal would be the better option. So I mean that's kind of on you as the originator to recommend the appropriate course of action for them, but show them both. Both of them are very valuable. Your monthly payment doesn't change. It's the same mortgage in all 3 places here. That's why we're not seeing any graphics. But when it comes down to what does it do for your interest savings and what does it do for your net worth, these are 2 telling stories and very different stories. Now when we go into the actual view of the presentation, it actually makes a little bit more sense now, because when we go into the presentation here, you can see that there's some striation in this graph. And what this is showing is that when we look at it and we click into it, our liquid asset at the time, that's that $13,000 there at the 10-year point. Now obviously our loan balance is a little bit higher. We're at 214, whereas with reinvesting principal, that's one of our selling points is, hey, we've reduced your loan balance. You're under 200,000 at the 10-year point. So both are great options, and both have huge advantages. But the idea is get them thinking about their money in a little bit different way. Get them thinking about their mortgage either as a vehicle or as basically just something where they can tack additional assets onto. And I see Bob does have a question here. He says, actually, I'm interested where I could find the link for mobile presentation for clients, sharing with the realtor as a USP when you're done with the Skip the Bagel presentation. Okay, so the link for the mobile presentation for the clients. Okay, so where do you find the link? And Bob, maybe you can give me a little bit more clarity behind this. Have you created any presentations in Edge yet? Ah, excellent. Okay. So the link that you're going to send to your borrowers, anytime you finish the total cost analysis, you've gone through the wizard here, you hit this generate link, and this is the link that's actually going. This is the one you send out. And the way it gets into mobile is that when you send them this link, all you're going to do is they click on it, and if they click on it from their mobile device, it's going to direct them towards the App Store so that they can download it. Now, once they download it, it will automatically appear there. Let me see if I can show you back on my phone here what that looks like. All right, bring that into view there. All right, so this one is 1.6, and you can imagine this is the same thing as if I was to click on the link from an email or from a text as a borrower. So U51S, there we go. And when they click on it, it automatically directs them to your presentation on the mobile app. So that's what we're seeing here. This is the mobile version of what this guy is showing. So it's exactly the same thing. And you can see that I've got my title there, Skip the Bagel and Save. It's got my branding information. But in terms of how do you get the link to them on mobile, it's the exact same link as you use for the browser. It's just where they click on it that determines what the user experience is. So this is another thing to keep in mind. I'm glad you asked it, Bob, is, you saw me kind of muddle through trying to get there by typing this in. One of the things you can do, especially when you're demonstrating this to your realtor partners, to your borrowers, is have a couple of samples in there. And the easy way to do it is send yourself links to sample presentations, whether it's something like the Skip the Bagel presentation that I created here, or if it's something like an open house presentation that you've done with a realtor partner. Maybe it's a story about how you helped some a first-time home buyer get into a property when they didn't think they were going to be able to, but you showed them a creative way with financing that made it work for them. Sorry, my phone just went off. But the way you do that is prepare those links for yourself, send them to yourself in an email, and then all you do is click on those links individually from your email, and it'll open up in your mobile app. And once you've opened them in your mobile app, they actually show up in your history. So if you click on history here, when you're demonstrating this to a borrower or when you're demonstrating this to a realtor partner and you just are trying to show the value propositions that you offer, you can come in here and just click on your samples. So I can now go and show my rent versus own to my borrower. And actually, this one is kind of cool. If you get the chance to check this out, we built this based on a presentation that one of our originators built, and he had a really cool idea of basically just walking around with a selfie stick. Let me see if I can show you that. And he actually did this on a rent versus own presentation. But what he did is he just walked around the property with a selfie stick going and recorded his video from his mobile device. Now this is huge because you're not tied to a desktop anymore. You're not tied to specific constraints, and you can really give a powerful experience by doing something like this. Now I know this looks a little grainy on your screen right now. That's just because of the pass-through I'm using to be able to show it to you. But if you'd like to actually check this, I'm going to check it out. Let me see if I can give you an example. Let me drop that in the chat for you. Okay, so that's in the chat. So if you'd like to, go ahead and click on that link real quick, and it's going to open it up in your browser. Now, feel free to share this with yourself. So once you click on it, this is what it's going to look like. It's going to come up in your browser just like it's doing in mine. And then all you're going to do is hit share. And let me hide the message here. But you're going to hit share down at the very bottom. And now you've got that copied, so if you want to paste it in somewhere else, you can. But share it to yourself. Since it's copied now, compose an email and send it to yourself. So I'm actually just going to go into Outlook real quick here, compose a new email, and let's do to support. And all I'm going to do is paste that link in there. Now when I send this to myself, I can now receive it on my phone, click on it, and now I've got that in my history log. So you want to do this for your most common presentations, especially when you don't necessarily want to use ones with specific borrower information. So if you did a really cool presentation for somebody and it was a total cost analysis, but it actually had that borrower's info on it, and you'd like to be able to share it as a use case, but you don't want to expose that borrower information to whoever you're showing it to, there's a quick and easy way to do it. You're going to find the presentation you want. Let's say this one in particular right here had specific borrower information on it, but I really dig this report and I could build a story around it from when I'm talking to my realtor partners. I'm going to go into this presentation. I'll go to the analysis screen, and there's a button here that's called Copy Analysis. When you hit Copy Analysis, it gives you the option to copy this entire thing, every step in the wizard, either as a new presentation under the current client or as a new client. So when you hit New Client and hit OK, now it says we've copied all your information. All you have to do is give it a name. So this one is just now New Copy or something like that, whatever you want to call it. Make it a marketing report. Call it what you like. But this one in particular will have a completely separate link. So when I go to generate the link on this one, this is a link to the copied version. So now my new copy here, because I made it a marketing presentation, it removed any sensitive borrower data, it removed any contact information. So now this is just a marketing piece that I can put a new video on, and I can use this for my demonstrations with my realtor partner. I can tell that story. In fact, the video I put on here would probably be the story of how I helped this this young couple get into a property, or I helped a veteran with a VA loan that he never thought he'd get the dream of home ownership. Whatever it is that is part of the value proposition you offer for the products you offer. Maybe it's even a story that talks about some of the unique financing options that your lender offers. I mean, those kind of things make great stories, especially when you can tie them into something that you've done in the past, a way that you've been able to help somebody, whether it's helping a realtor partner to attract new buyers. I mean, that's another great use case. I used this open house presentation to put out at an open house, and it was on my tablet, and we actually had more people looking at that than the paper flyers that were set out next to it by whoever, right? But build a story around it. Build a case for why what you're showing is more valuable than what the traditional ideas are showing. Hey, thanks, Bob. I appreciate that compliment. I'm glad you're able to get some goodies out of this one. We got 10 minutes left, and I know I'm kind of rambling right now. So if you have any ideas on additional things that you'd like to show, let me know, and we'll try and address those. And let's see here. All right, cool. I'll just keep going. 10 minutes left. Okay. So